Hello, everybody. It's Miss Ginny from the Rotary Children's Library. I am here today to do crafting with Ginny at 10:30. So today we are going to make a poppy for Remembrance Day. I am wearing a poppy. So we are going to be making it out of cupcake liners. Before we get started on that, I wanted to read you a little bit of information about poppies and Remembrance Day. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of information. So why do we wear a poppy on Remembrance Day? Well, and where should we wear it? Well, many people say that you should wear the poppy on your left side. I don't have a collar on mine today, but they prefer that you wear it on a lapel or a collar. And the reason that you should wear it, it's above your heart, and it shows that you're keeping those who died in the war, you're keeping them close to your heart. Because those that died in the war fought for our freedom, for peace. So they fought for our freedom, and Remembrance Day is held on November 11th. So that's tomorrow. And it is called Armistice Day, which is on November 11th, which is tomorrow. It's also known as Remembrance Day, and it marks the day that World War I ended. Now, it ended at 11 a.m. on the 11th day of the 11th month, because November is the 11th month. So, and that was in 1918. So tomorrow at 11 a.m., you should pause and have a 2-minute silence to remember those veterans, those people that died for our freedom in the war. Now, lots of things about the poppy. There was a poem that was written by John McCrae, and he was a Canadian artillery doctor, and he wrote the poem in Flanders Fields in 1915. So why does the poppy symbolize Remembrance Day? Well, it's a remembrance, as we said, about the veterans that fought in the war for our peace and freedom. And the other thing is the reason that they actually have the poppy is because the debris and the rubble from First World War in France and Belgium, it caused the soil to become rich in lime, and it caused the small red flowers to grow around the grave sites of those dead soldiers. So that is also another reason that they wrote in Flanders Fields, the poppies grow. So they grew around the dead soldiers' grave sites. Here's a few facts about things that you should know about the Canadian soldiers. They served in Italy between 1943 and 1945. Canadian soldiers have helped girls today go to school in Afghanistan. And many Canadian soldiers came home to Canada in 1919 after the First World War. 2019, so last year, marked the 75th anniversary of D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. Now, one question people ask is, why does the Queen wear 5 poppies? Well, the most widely accepted of these is that each poppy represents a different branch of the armed forces. So this would mean that the Queen is wearing one for each of the armed forces: the Navy, the Army, the Air Force, the Civil Defense, and women. There were many men and women in the wars. Some were fighting, some were nurses, some were medical doctors. Everybody had their part to play in that part of the war, and we're so grateful that they fought for our freedom. And the poppy really became well known after that Canadian artillery doctor, John McCrae, wrote the poem in Flanders Fields in 1915. So the other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was some interesting facts, not only many people died in the wars and fought for our freedom, there was also tales of animals that helped during the war. So the pigeons carried messages that were attached to their legs and also went on planes and ships to carry the SOS messages back to the base in case of an emergency. And sometimes they even wore tiny cameras to take pictures of the enemy locations. So more than 100,000 pigeons served in the First World War and 200,000 served in the Second World War. That's pretty interesting. Bears were often regimented mascots because they shared love and affection with humans, and they were believed to bring the soldiers good luck. Winnie the Bear, who inspired the character Winnie the Pooh, was a mascot in the First World War. And Juno the Bear, named after Juno Beach, where Canadians came ashore in France on June 6 in 1944, is the official mascot of the Canadian Army. So that's pretty interesting. So bears and pigeons. Let's see what other animals. Oh, elephants. Elephants were trained carrying and placing thick logs along a road or a bridge, and their strength made them very useful in wartime for construction projects. So during the Second World War, they were used in Burma, which is now Myanmar, to help build roads and transport humans. So elephants were very helpful during the war as well. Dogs, of course, were trained to serve in war as messengers by carrying secret notes in their collars. And they also served as watchdogs, search and rescue dogs, and paradogs, which are trained to parachute out of planes. Can you imagine that? Poor dog, but they were trained for that. There was demining dogs. So those ones were the ones that sniffed out landmines and other explosives. And they were companions, so they provided love and comfort to their human friends. Cats were often kept as mascots on ships during war because they are hunters and they controlled the rat population. They adapted well to life at sea and they were easy to care for, and they were also good to cuddle with when the sailors were sick or fearful or lonely. Horses served in the war by carrying soldiers on their backs in battle and by pulling weapons, artillery, supply wagons, ambulances, and more. They were also mascots and loving companions to their human caregivers. Horses continue to serve in places where rough terrain makes carrying supplies by truck too hard. So lots of animals were also a part of the war, and many of them died as well, but they also helped with the war efforts. All right, so let's get on with making our poppies. So the first thing you're going to need for supplies is you're going to need a little bit of black construction paper, and you're going to want to trace out and cut a little black circle for the middle of the poppy. Doesn't have to be too big. So of course you're going to need a pair of scissors, and you're going to need red marker of some kind, a green pipe cleaner, and as I mentioned before, you're going to want about a mid-sized cupcake liner. If you have a red one, that's even better because then you don't have to color it. But if you don't, use a white one, and then another smaller one that would fit inside that one. So that's all you need for that. And I would suggest that so this is the poppy we're going to make today out of the cupcake liner. So I would suggest that you use a bit of newspaper as well when you're doing your coloring. So I'm just going to put the computer down here, the laptop window down here, so you can see what I'm doing. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your cupcake liners, and make them kind of flat as you can. They won't go completely flat. And you're going to take your red marker and you're going to color them. So you want to completely color them in red, because of course the poppy is in red. So you're going to do that for both the small one and the bigger one. So I'm going to do it quite fast, And I've got a couple markers here because my markers sometimes run out of their coloring. So I'm going to get the other one. This one seems like it's drying out a bit. And I'm just coloring all the way around to color in the white. Like I said, if you have red cupcake liners, then that'll work and you don't have to worry about that, about the coloring. My markers are really drying out here, so I've got a couple more. I'm going to use here. Takes a lot of red. So you do that with both of your cupcakes, and you will get some red on your fingers. Don't worry about that. It will wash off if you're using markers that are washable markers. So I am just coloring this all the way around so it's completely red. My markers keep running out. Hopefully I can get through both of them. The bigger marker, of course, takes a lot more coloring. The bigger coffee or cupcake liner, I should say. It takes a lot more coloring because, of course, it's bigger. All right, so now I'm going to do the same with the little one. I'm going to color that all in red. Just to cover up the white. And I'm just doing a really quick job here. You can take your time because I'm doing it because my video only lasts so long. So just take your time and do nice coloring to get your cupcake liners all red. Okay, almost done my coloring. I just want to make sure they're all red. I've colored all the white in. I think I'm going to doctor up, color a little more of my big one because I see some white spots on it. So you should have your little one all colored in. And I'm just putting a bit more red on my big one here. So we're going to let those dry for a few minutes. And like I said, don't worry about getting some coloring on your hands. It will wash off. I just want to make sure all the white is colored in. Okay. I think that should do it. So now you can see we have a larger one and then we have the little one that's going to go in the center. So now what you want to do is you want to take, I have what's called a push pin. Now you can use a pair of scissors if you're careful, or you can use a needle, and I'm just going to push a hole in here in the center of these. So I'm going to hold them together and I'm going to push a hole through the center. So be careful you don't poke yourself. So just push a hole through the center. Just want a small hole there. Oh, we also need to glue these on. So let's put some glue on the back of the small one. So you need a glue stick, and you're going to glue the center of it. So in the center here on the back, put some glue. And you can stick it on. So you just want it in the center so that it's stuck on like that. So it's not glue on the top part, just right in the center. Then you're going to take your little black construction paper piece, your little circle, and you're going to glue that into the center. Right into the center of the poppy. So I just glued that on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my push pin, and I'm going to poke through the middle. Because I wanted to poke through the middle of the construction paper so you have a hole there. Because the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to take your green pipe cleaner and you're going to poke it through the center carefully from the bottom. So from the back, poke it through and do it carefully so you don't rip everything. So you're going to pull it up like that, and then you're going to bend it over so that just a little bit at the top so that it has a center to it. So you're bending it over, squishing it together so that it stays in place. So now what we want to do is if you want to make your poppy look more like it's a real poppy where it has kind of scalloped looks there, you're going to take your scissors and you're going to just cut around the center one. Just do little cuts. I'll show you what I'm doing here. So I'm just going to make little kind of cuts to make it look more like a poppy. So just every so often. So now you can see it's got that kind of a little rounded thing there, or scalloped kind of thing. So now I'm going to do the same on the outside. So just every few spots do that. So now I've got it, so I've just done that around the outside. So now what you want to do is you want to take it and you can scrunch it up a little bit like this, and then just fold it out a little so that you have your poppy. So that is your poppy. I hope you enjoyed that craft. I made another one here. So we are going to be making poppies out of egg cartons this afternoon at 3:30 with Crafting with Ginny. So I hope you can join us then. And I thank you very much for joining me today. And I hope you enjoyed that information, that information about Remembrance Day. Thank you for joining me. Bye.